If you know, you know. And we all know one thing for sure: experience plays a big factor when it comes to the sport of boxing. And if we compare Anthony Yarde experience when it comes to the sport of boxing to Kovalev, it's like comparing an ant and an elephant. Anthony Yarde only had 12 amateur fights and 18 pro fights. That's a total of 30 fights. And he was going against a proven champion, Kovalev, who had plenty of amateur experience and plenty of pro experience, especially championship experience, which ultimately won him the fight by knockout with a jab. Now, that being said, that jab was a problem the whole night for Anthony Yarde. He had to take it away in order to win the fight. However, he wasn't able to. And even though he wasn't able to take Kovalev's jab away, I believe he could have still won the fight. However, his conditioning failed him. Anthony Yarde got gassed out after the 7th round, after he had a tremendous round, and he made the right adjustments. And he should have really fought like that after round 3. You know, after 3 rounds where you saw that it was competitive from the outside, he should have started pressuring Kovalev and focused more so on the body. However, Anthony Yarde, he turned it up too late. And by that time, he was already kind of gassing out. And he threw everything in the kitchen sink to try to finish Kovalev in the 7th round. And Kovalev saw that. You know, he had Kovalev really hurt. Then in the 8th round and the 9th round, Kovalev made an adjustment where he was boxing more, moving around more, using more angles to try to stay away from Anthony Yarde. And by doing so, Anthony Yarde was trying to catch his breath, trying to get his second win. And Kovalev didn't let him do so. He was landing great punches, and Anthony Yarde couldn't recover or get his second win. And like I said, he should have started doing that after the 3rd round. So in my opinion, really fatigue is what cost Anthony Yarde the fight. I don't know how true it is that he doesn't spar before the fight, but he should have, so he could experience fatigue, so he knows how to deal with it in a real fight. Because according to his trainer, all they work on during camp is how to counter during sparring. It's not real sparring where, you know, the doghouse rules or stuff like that. So I don't know how true that is. You know, I think sparring is the main factor in the sport of boxing to get prepared for a fight, because you get to work on everything from conditioning to practicing your game plan and trying to implement everything you learn in a sparring match. So when it comes to a fight night, you prepare for the fight. You know, you try to envision your opponent during sparring, so when you do fight your opponent, you can make the right adjustments. However, you know, I don't understand the strategy, if it's true or not, but they also turned down $1 million to fight Kovalev. You know, they didn't want Canelo to fight Kovalev. Anthony Yarde felt like he's ready. So you got to give Anthony Yarde a lot of credit, because he did perform extremely well for the experience he has. On top of that, he showed a heart of a lion. You know, he went out on his shield. He wasn't trying to survive and go the distance. He really tried to win and go for the knockout, even though he was fatigued. So you got to give Anthony Yarde a lot of credit for not fighting a champion or even a top contender and going straight for the big dog and performing the way he did. I believe he earned my respect, and a lot of people respect with the heart he showed and displayed and the character that he showed inside of the ring. So Anthony Yarde will get better from this experience. Like I stated, he haven't fought anybody close to Kovalev, let alone Kovalev. So he will get better from now on. However, you know, with more fights, he could have possibly beat a Kovalev, in my opinion. Like I stated, if he followed the right game plan after the 3rd round and didn't fatigue during the fight, he could have possibly beat a Kovalev. Because like I stated, the main factor in this fight was the fact that Anthony Yarde fatigued and he couldn't counter nor pressure Kovalev the way he wanted to. However, he could have, should have, would have talk is out of the window now. Kovalev got the win, so credit to him and congratulations to Kovalev. He pulled off a big win and made a lot of money. And now we should be looking forward for Canelo Alvarez to fighting Kovalev, since he saw Kovalev being vulnerable to the body, can't take it inside, doesn't know how to fight inside. And I believe Canelo Alvarez will give Kovalev a shot. You know, he was rooting for Kovalev. He wanted Kovalev to win so he could fight him. He actually wanted to fight Kovalev before Yarde. And Yarde chose not to take the step-aside money, which was $1 million. You know, so we got to give Yarde a lot of credit for wanting to fight a champion and not take the step-aside money. Because if they offer me $1 million to take step-aside money, I'm taking it all day. The reason why, because, you know, Canelo going to do what he does, fight Kovalev. Then whoever wins, I'ma still get my title shot. And then if Kovalev won, it's a bigger fight. If Canelo Alvarez won, he's gonna vacate the belt and I'm gonna fight an easier opponent. So all I'm saying is people shouldn't bash Yarde for the experience he had, because at the end of the day, he showed heart, he showed character, and he performed extremely well for the experience he had going into that fight. So it's a learning lesson, like I stated, for Anthony Yarde. He couldn't take Kovalev's jab away, and that's what ultimately won Kovalev the fight. I mean, it's telling, getting the knockout just by a jab. You know, Kovalev got a lot of power in his jab. He dropped a lot of fighters in the past, and he also has a lot of power in his right hand. So I don't think it was the power that got Kovalev the knockout. I just believe that Yarde was so fatigued that he just couldn't get up from getting knocked down. I mean, Kovalev prior to that landed a lot of great punches, and Anthony Yarde got caught by the jab flush. So if Yarde wasn't fatigued, I believe he could have possibly got up from that knockdown. But at the end of the day, you live and you learn, and I believe Yarde will come back as a better fighter. And this should show Lopez that is levels to this. And if you want to jump into a fight with Lomachenko right away, he better be prepared mentally, physically, spiritually, etc., because Lomachenko is on a whole nother level compared to the fighters that he been fighting. Even though Lopez had a lot of amateur experience as well, he had way more amateur experience, and he went to the Olympics than a Yarde. However, on the other hand, Lomachenko is in his prime, unlike Kovalev. Kovalev, don't get me wrong, he still has a lot of experience. He still got a lot left in the tank. However, that Andre Ward fight took a lot out of him, and Andre Ward laid out the blueprint of how to beat him. You know, you got to go through fire. You know, you might have to box the first 3 rounds, but you got to be able to implement the game plan on a Kovalev, the right game plan, where Yarde did so in spots. You know, like I stated, in the 7th round, he did a tremendous job, but that's how he should have fought from the 3rd round on, after you felt his power and you felt like you could take it, and just try to avoid the big shots that could probably put your lights out, and go through fire. And like I stated time and time again, go to the body and fight him in the inside, because Kovalev, we all know he can't take it to the body and he can't fight in the inside. You know, he got tremendous arm length where he generate a lot of power if you fight him long range. However, if you fight him in the inside, he can't generate that much power. So you actually safer in the inside than fighting Kovalev in the outside. So that's why Canelo wants the fight, and Kovalev will get paid tremendously for that fight, as he needs it, since he been getting in trouble outside the ring, violating women's rights, etc. So on the other hand, Anthony Yarde went out like a warrior, and he will come back better, in my opinion. And the fact that he went to Russia to fight a Kovalev with all the advantages on Kovalev's side, and he believed in himself that much, and he performed extremely well for the experience he has. So like I always say, subscribe below if you're trying to get smarter by the minute. If you're trying to get dumb about a second, don't listen to these casual fans. Subscribe to Aki TV and click on the notification bell to get notified every time we go live. Follow Lantoon Boxing for the funniest boxing memes. All the links will be in the description box below, and to be continued on the next episode of Aki TV. Peace, and we out.